Yeah, okay. You look like you know your way around a gun.
I'm ready for this.
There I was, pondering what sort of video I could possibly come up with next. And then it hit me. Why don't I sentence myself to probably 20 hours of pure torture and complete frustration? And so I hatched the idea of 100% completing the Outer Worlds using nothing but the very first tutorial pistol you acquire in the game, on Supernova difficulty. Obviously, I set my perception as high as possible, knowing the damage I would be doing would be comparable to bringing a pillow to a gunfight. Along with that genetic modification, I would acquire the intelligence of Dexter from Dexter's laboratory, the temperament of a pregnant narwhal, the charm equivalent to a field of corn, the dexterity of Dexter's laboratory, the strength of 1,000 men who just lost all of their limbs. So ranged weapons and leadership would be vital, because I sure as heck wouldn't be able to do everything my loser self. Unlike real life, I would be filled with determination and have the body of an Egyptian goddess who's been hit by a garbage truck with a name fit for an underperforming website. And with all of that out of the way, I was launched towards the planet to acquire the weapon as to which I would commence this most tedious of tasks. I made my way through the tutorial phase, as to which I looted a dead body, because that's what all people do when they come across a dead body. As the game made my ears bleed, I was too busy already falling off a cliff in order to break my legs. And just like Carl Weezer, I ripped a fat vape to sustain my breathing. And then I found him.
Hey, you, come here.
This man was a trained professional YouTuber.
You've tried the best now. Now try the rest. Spacer's choice.
After he babbled on for what felt like seconds, I fixed him up real good with my medical skills purely for the experience, not because I wanted to help him, as to which he offered me the weapon of the gods.
Okay. You look like you know your way around a gun.
The Spacer's Choice Light Pistol. Legends have told me that more people have had failed suicides with this pistol than any other pistol. I was in for a low damage, painstakingly slow combat treat. So I thanked this guy for the pistol, and then I made my escape and dismantled that piece of garbage sword he gave me. I would not be needing that. The first encounter with the enemy was easy, probably because I just exploded them, but still, I was being resourceful and lazy. However, for my second encounter, I was almost killed within the first 5 seconds of the fight. That's when I realized that this was going to be even worse than I imagined it would be. I met up with this loser who was supposed to be brave, so basically I just told her to run out and fight the enemies for me, or else she was a coward. And so she did. I kind of just stood back and let them waste their ammo, and I'd leech the XP. Then she confronted me as to ticket me for the ship that I didn't even own. There was only one thing left to do. And then after that little fiasco, I made my way to town, gunning down every single human in my path. Some of them were even bad guys. Knowing I would need a ton of levels and perks to actually go through with this stupid challenge, I took on every single side quest I could. If they wouldn't accept me, I just outright lied to them about who I was, and that seemed to work. I finally made it to town and spoke to Thompson, who I knew that I would either kill or kick him out of his mayor position, and then kill him anyways. I picked up Pavardi because, well, she hits dudes with a hammer. And then we had an incredibly awkward silent elevator ride down. I then spoke to Vicar Max because he's a big nerd to start on his questline, and then I headed out to get that oversized fusion core. And with that being said, I took my first real steps out of safety into the real world. My grand adventure had begun. and immediately ended, quickly reminding me that I was playing on supernova difficulty and had about a half an hour of questing totally wasted that I had to now repeat. So I started back again, completing all the quests I had literally just completed. When I got back to the lab of poor vegetarian rebels, I robbed them blind.
What do you think you're doing?
And then I convinced them that I would help their cause so I could find out how to get their fusion core. And so I ran off to complete my task. Fought a couple of marauders, died again, had to restart my quest again. I fought a couple of monkeys, died to the monkeys, fought the monkeys again for revenge, and wiped them from existence. I then found myself in a bandit camp, trying to get some XP to level up, but instead, Parvati decided to absolutely perish, forcing me to have to load a previous save to make sure she didn't perma-die for the rest of the run. So once again, I restarted. After repeating everything again, I finally got to the geothermal plant, murdered my way through a heap of stupid robots that almost constantly killed me in Parvati, turned off the power to the environmentalist institution of grave defiling grannies, and then convinced all the grannies people that she was insane by giving them comic books. After a long day of work, I took a quick nap to save my progress, convinced Mayor Thompson to leave with a compelling argument of, or else I will literally kill you, as to which he did step down.
If the best thing I can do for this town is to stand down, then stand down I shall.
And then I slaughtered everything on my way to Granny's, told her to take over the town. This was considered a very big win for everyone except for Thompson, who did die. At this point, I had leveled up my pistol enough to deal what I like to call mediocre damage, meaning that it would get me into bad situations and couldn't get me out of them. With that being said, I got into my ship and flew away. I had better things to kill with my pistol than these pathetic losers. So finally, I headed to the Groundbreaker to get started on the real task at hand. Acquiring Felix. Oh, and Ellie too, I suppose. I spoke to another head honcho grandma, and she basically, I mean, not word for word, but what I interpreted she could have possibly meant, told me to kill everyone in sight at Emerald Vale to make her money. Remembering that I had a literal piece of trash glued to my hip, I was ready for anything, except for fighting. So I grabbed the Felix and launched myself towards Emerald Vale. Ellie was concerned about something.
This Roseway business smells.
Well, I just didn't care. I made my way towards town, which was on fire, so I knew exactly where to find it. I spoke to a bunch of scientist geeks about their stupid grade 5 science projects that they couldn't manage to complete the night before the big science show, so I had to put on my dad pants and go out and finish the projects for them. As soon as we left, Felix decided that he was immortal or something and engaged in every single fight that he saw, which ended up costing him his life in his second fight ever. He drop-kicked a robot, which literally just turned around and shot him dead, forcing me to restart my game for him. The second time I tried to be discreet, yet as soon as my partners heard a robot 50 miles away, they were gone. Like a bunch of children running towards the Webkin shelf in Shopper's Drug Mart. There was no stopping them. Luckily, this time they didn't die. So anyways, we started to complete the tasks given to us, killing a bunch of, I don't know what these are, rabid cows or something. I rescued an ungrateful brat and did exactly what Granny sort of, kind of, not really told me to do. I killed every innocent person that stood in my way, or could stand in my way, or didn't stand in my way. It didn't matter to me. At the end of the day, it was just more money and XP for me.
Everyone all right?
The problem wasn't my pistol being underpowered anymore either. It was the fact that Parvati kept getting literally annihilated by stupid stuff like bullets and oversized butter knives, continuously forcing me to reload my saves. Many more fights were had, some were won, but many more were lost. At the end of the day, my pistol strength grew more and more powerful, and not because I was leveling up, but constantly having to repair it due to it breaking every single time I emptied the clip. And then finally Felix, after causing me to reload my save for the 15th time, engaged in another fight which we could have avoided, as to which I turned around for 1 second to check on Parvati, turned around, and he was dead. And that was it for Felix. I mean, I even tried to wake him up, but it was already too late. So anyways, we continued on with our journey. There was a moment of silence when the message finally popped up. But then I just grabbed Ellie from the ship like Felix was never really there, and we just started shooting, fighting my way through hordes of brainless enemies with nothing but the pistol I started with. I can tell you this much, I had probably picked up at least 10 other pistols that were already 5 times as powerful, if not better, than this piece of garbage I was using, but I was persistent. We grabbed the last of the science projects, killed a bunch of, I don't know, what are these, horses? Freed a lady from prison, returned to town to give all the nerds their projects back for a bunch of XP and money, and made our way back to Granny, who basically just said, "Give me your caps and I'll give you a little GPS to Monarch." Immediately after this, I killed most of the crew and took their science weapon to sell it for a ton of money. So after the crew was dead, I headed to Stellar Bay, pistol completely broken and way underpowered for this area. I was ready.
We're now in orbit above Stellar Bay.
There, I met an absolutely drunk lady with pink hair.
Don't interrupt. It's rude.
She was the perfect fit for my crew. She was a little bit too drunk to even recognize that I was a human being, so I went to the nearest medical bay to get Advil or something. The nurse here wouldn't just hand over all of her drugs, so I did the right thing. I robbed her blind and killed her family. I'm kidding. I didn't actually rob her. I prefer the term broke into her business and took what's rightfully hers for my own self-gain. Anyways, I gave the Pepto-Bismol or whatever it was to the drunk pink-haired Nyoka, leveled up, slapped some points in the science so I could actually upgrade my pistol without pain through the nose, and then we slaughtered a bunch of the local wildlife, including things like big lizards, big bird dogs, humans, all that stuff. Until, of course, my pistol failed me and broke mid-fight, causing an untimely death. Back 10 minutes I went. We fought our way across the wasteland to meet up with the leader of the civilization abandoning baby clan, where Graham, aka Stupid Beard Bryant, tried to convince me of his stupid cause. I told him he was stupid, but I needed the XP, so I would wait to kill him and do his quests first. He agreed to these terms. At this point, my pistol was completely underperforming for the level of enemies I was fighting, and so I gathered up all the quests I could from the local towns and set out to actually gain some experience and money. I set out and rescued this sad excuse for a Tom Cruise stunt double wannabe, as to which he said,
"Wish I had something to give you, but I gnawed through my last Spratwurst an hour ago."
And I said, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll just take all your stuff and leave you with nothing." So yet again, we set out to finish off all the quests Monarch had given us, got into way too many fights, accidentally broke the law and Nyoka died for it, fought all of those fights a second time around due to having to reload my save, and then made it to a peaceful family's house.
A visitor? What an unexpected surprise! My wife is putting the finishing touches on dinner.
They were serving hamburger helper, so we killed them all and stole everything they owned. As we tried to make our way back to town, we ended up in the biggest shootout of our lives, which once again resulted in the death of Nyoka, who decided to just be dumb and get shot at. In order to continue power leveling my pistol, which was still severely lacking damage, and I mean it dealt so little damage that one might actually think it was healing people I would shoot at, we butchered the wildlife of the land one by one. Each and every legendary beast would be slaughtered by a small, stupid little piece of crap pistol you could probably find at a dollar store for 50% off. At one point, we ticked off an entire town of praying mantises, and because I was entirely hyped up on alcohol and cigarettes, trying to maintain all of my addictions, we somehow actually came out alive. We headed for the local Sisty Pig factory, and I couldn't get in through the main door, but luckily, due to me falling off a cliff and breaking my legs, we found a secret entrance. We then snuck around the factory without alerting any of the guards. After arriving at the boss's main headquarters, I realized that he was too ugly to be kept alive, and put him out of his misery immediately in the most inhumane way possible. I also ate all of his free samples. Now that some of the minor issues were dealt with, we climbed up the hill to the relay station to finally progress in the campaign. It was brutal, but I managed to kill a bunch of level 16 enemies with a level 8 pistol. I was magnificent and I was perfect. And then of course there was another setback. I had to go and rescue some moron in a cave because some sort of mustache discount Nathan Fillion demanded it of me.
Good answer.
I rushed into the cavern, consumed 15 packs of cigarettes, 3 bags of bread noodles, and engaged in a 1v1 pistol battle with a mega mantiqueen. If I had a nickel for every time that had happened, I'd have 2 nickels. I rescued the big nerd and then forced him and his crew to engage the enemy for me, meaning that my pistol would actually get a break for once from overheating and breaking and it just being terrible constantly. Now, don't get me wrong, I helped out where I could, kind of like the time my friend tried to build an igloo out of frozen bags of milk, but just like that experience, everyone either wound up dead or in jail. It was rough. I talked to the radio show host about airing my new podcast called Pistol Pals, but he immediately shut me down on the account of it being absolute garbage or something. So frustrated, I ran back to town and lied to this woman saying I killed her son to blow off some steam. Hey, at least it's better than telling her the truth that her son got killed by bandits. Now, after cooling down a bit, I killed a bunch of thugs in a back alley and then looted their corpses. I was finally starting to feel better about my denied podcast. As I made my way back to the faction of rebellious insecure freeloaders, I accidentally engaged by attacking first in heavy gunplay with a bunch of marauders. I killed them all and saved a woman who put her cattails in the wrong place.
They were coming real close to eating me.
Now, I'm no makeup expert here, but according to my wife, according to Khloe Kardashian, the cattail has always historically been drawn on the top of your eye, creating a rather smoothly driven dark tone to complement the drawn specific attention to the shape and color of one's eyes. In conclusion, Lenora here is an utter disgrace to makeup and should be hanged for her crimes. So anyways, I shot a bunch of animals again, pulled a big lever, and watched a ship crash into what I could only hope to have been Lenora. And once again, as any other small trip I had to make, I slaughtered my way over to the crashed ship and decided to take a small detour into an abandoned town just to make sure that it was abandoned. And by make sure it was abandoned, I meant made sure. Bit by bit, I forced my way through enemies lining up to fight me in my pistol. The battles were long fought, but my ammo never ran dry, and my spirits were constantly lifted. And by spirits, I do mean alcohol, and lifted was to take a drink. I was drunk. Always. But it's okay. I already had alcohol poisoning, so there was nowhere to go here but up. At long last, I killed the beasts guarding the ship, or at least within the vicinity, and mostly because it was fun and I needed their XP. I grabbed the forbidden robot space cactus and made my escape to Phineas's lab. There, I told him he was a freak, gave him the space cactus, stole a shrink ray to sell for a pretty penny, and ditched that nerd heading straight to Byzantium to meet up with the contact.
We are now in orbit above Byzantium, Captain.
Sadly, they were too dumb to know it was me.
Oh, you mean I'm supposed to be meeting you?
With each perk, I became more and more powerful as a level 13 pistol-wielding person can be fighting level 20 enemies. Immediately, I was contacted by someone who I could only assume wanted me to audition for a movie, so knowing that my natural beauty is unrivaled, I said yes.
Just go in there and do what feels natural.
As I marched into his studio, I was greeted by some sort of ex-YouTuber. The way he spoke convinced me of this.
All of this settlement CNP Hungry Time food pills, same nutritional value, but now with added filler, are ours. With their patented stomach stuffing effects and baseline vitamin content, we will be nigh unstoppable.
I couldn't just stand by idly as this man was clearly in pain, held at gunpoint from corporate scumbags. So then I held him at gunpoint and actually pulled the trigger. After those shenanigans, I headed back to the local bar to feed my addiction, but instead I ended up feeding somebody else's addiction. At first I was doing it for fun, but 3 straight up bottles of vodka in, I became curious, and it was now a science experiment.
You sure sound like you know what you're talking about.
Turns out, too much vodka can literally kill you. Well, the guy was dead. I wasn't. So I took all of his stuff and did what any kind of sensible person would do. I used his keycard to break into the minister's house and threaten him.
How did you get it?
It's what the dead guard would have wanted. The minister gave me everything I needed to break into the head building, which meant more time to build my pistol up in strength before any real fights would happen.
So try anything funny, and they'll paint the walls with your guts.
With the guard's words fresh in my mind, I 360 jumped right into the elevator. There was a 50-50 chance I'd get shot on sight, but it was worth it. I proceeded to break into the chairman's computer and uploaded 20 straight hours of a cool new viral video called Nyan Cat. And then I headed towards the science labs to steal all of their space gamer bathwater. I tried sneaking in, but I was awful at it, so I kind of just ran over as fast as I could. Also, I got dehydrated, so I couldn't pick this lock, so I drank a ton of juice, and boom, lockpick skills were enhanced. 27%. You want me to take 27%? No, I was taking all of the space gamer bathwater. Do you have any idea how much this stuff is worth? Well, apparently it was worth the lives of about 40 humans, give or take. After unnecessarily killing all of those people, I'll tell you, that was an awkward elevator ride. Yeah. And so, after murdering a ton of innocents, I meandered off to quickly solve this whole mystery thing where, oh shocker, turns out they're killing all the old people because they don't want to pay for their care. Classic future. And robots. So we just shot our way through all of the elderly killing robots and got the heck out of that city. But those people in Byzantium, they just couldn't get enough of me. Sophia, the adjutant, immediately contacted me after I left, saying that if I planted a GPS at Phineas's lab, I would get invited over to her place for a tea party. Seeing as that would probably give me a good amount of XP, I said, sure. I gave the space gamer bathwater to Phineas, heaven knows what he wants to do with that stuff, planted a fake tracking chip so Phineas wouldn't hate me, and Sophia was all like, dang, you really did it, come on back to my place, I just cracked open a fresh bag of Doritos sweet chili heat. So with that incentive, I went straight back to her place and immediately shot her in the head, and then I killed all of her guards with nothing but a piece of garbage pistol that was actually turning into a very impressive and powerful weapon. I was in a good place. Well, at least physically. Mentally, I was off the rails. Well, after everyone was dead, and I mean everyone, like this guy, and this woman, and this man, and this idiot, and this legend, and this legend, and this war hero, and this war criminal, and this guy, I hopped onto me vessel and took to the skies. All the main events had been completed, and all that was left was to tie up any loose ends. Now I flew around the galaxy, completing every menial task that was originally given to me before I just disregarded it and did my own thing. If there was a person who was supposed to be killed, they got killed. If there were monsters that needed a good slaughtering, well, let's just say we could have a month-long barbecue after I was done with them. Dad joke. If there were good guys accidentally caught up in a firefight that I didn't realize were there, so I just shot them in the head and killed all their other units just to pretend like nothing happened, so be it. This was life. This was my pistol we're talking about. I take it seriously. I will kill 1,000 good guys before I let this pistol die. So I rampaged around the planets, punching good people in the face for fun. And smuggling drugs, contracting phobias because of my war crimes. No one was safe. And in that, I felt secure. To be honest, I absolutely forgot about the iconoclasts, the rebellious babies of the wasteland. So I quickly sided with MSI and we curb stomped those fools like it was going out of style. I mean, they were trying so hard, man. Wouldn't it suck to build up this huge organization just to find out all of your troopers are a bunch of glue-eating pathetic windbags incapable of killing a psychotic, phobic-infused, corpse-looking alcoholic with a pistol given to her during the tutorial? Because that's exactly what happened. After that party ended, I was ready for another, especially when I learned that apparently I am repulsed by the board. Now, I don't really know what I did to offend them to that point, besides murdering all their human test subjects to acquire their bathwater and killing the president or whatever, but it was time they paid in experience points. I quickly disposed of everyone in the city. It was pretty easy now that my pistol was at least level 15, and the guards seemed to just fall at my feet. Remember, supernova difficulty here. My toughest foe in the entire battle was Wealthy Citizen, who did try to stop me when I robbed the bar.
What do you think you're doing?
They were quite difficult to defeat, but I managed it. Everyone in the city died except the minister, who seemed pretty cool about it.
What a pleasure.
So I left Byzantium, helped Ellie steal all of her parents' money, acquired the best partner in the game, Sam, and helped Nyoka figure out why all of her friends were dead.
Captain, thank you.
That was also the moment that I found out that robots actually use sleeping bags. You learn something new every day. Now, a scientist told me to tell her that I didn't actually kill all those space gamers, so that's exactly what I told her. Finally, I finished Pravati's side quest and launched our ship to the Hope. I decided I was going to stealth my way through the ship, try to avoid conflict with the enemy. That didn't exactly what I like to call work. Now, after we killed every living and non-living thing on the entire ship, we launched the Hope straight towards the final mission. It was either that or launch it into the sun and kill everyone, but sadly I was too smart to do that. As I broke my legs running off the ship, I knew that I was ready to take on the board. I went back to Phineas's place, but he'd already been taken hostage, which meant one thing. Defend the one remaining Sisty pig. I killed every single person who invaded the lab, all for one purpose, to protect Bubbles. If anything happened to Bubbles, well, I might just have had to kill everyone in the universe. I finally arrived at level 30, the last level, and I knew it was time. My crew gathered around the table to speak with me, to voice their concerns. I ignored everything they said because I was too busy staring at this rather empty chair. A voice entered my head.
Watch this.
But I have no idea who that voice belonged to, like a distant, forgotten memory. So anyways, I stole everything my companions left laying around in their rooms and set course for Tartar Sauce, the most savage prison planet that ever did exist. But I was done. I had had it with the stupid board members interfering with my beating of the game on Supernova with a starter pistol. This idiot guard tried to arrest me, but I was far beyond angry at this point. I started screaming inaudible words of pure hatred. He panicked and tried to calm me down, but oh no, I was coming for them all. No. Sadly, my rage did end around the time I accidentally killed some MSI soldiers along with their captain, forcing me to completely restart the raid. And wouldn't you know it, after doing the whole dang thing over again, I shot the MSI soldiers again, just because they're so dang shootable. I finally played it safe and did not shoot them. I managed to fight my way through the completely pathetic board members who did not stand a chance against my once level 1 pistol, now absolutely legendary level 16 pistol. Still 14 levels behind everything else, but it didn't matter until I once again accidentally shot the MSI soldiers. And this time, I didn't care. If they died, they died. This was their fate, to die by the hands of my pistol. I destroyed them. It's what they deserved for being in my way. One final awkward elevator ride, and we were there. Chairman Rockwell greeted me, but I just skipped all of his stupid dialogue and concluded with, "Killing you will be the highlight of my year." The last time I said that to someone, well, they were quite upset, so I figured that this was a good response here as well. The thing is, I forgot about one small obstacle. The giant crazy killer robot on the other side of the door. Well, all I had on me was this insanely underpowered tutorial pistol and an inventory filled with consumables to make me immortal. And so, on that day, I consumed more consumables than deemed safe for consumption. Over 60 packs of cigarettes were smoked. I was blazed out of my mind on insanely dangerous drugs. My brain cells died one by one as I pounded back over 83 different alcoholic beverages within seconds. And with that, I burst through the door and instantly fired 4 consecutive rounds straight into the mechanical beast, crippling it with depression on the spot. And although my allies did absolutely little to no damage to the robot, they would keep him grounded and immobilized for me. Swarms of flying robots surrounded us, but I paid them no mind. I had one focus: embarrassing this robot and making him look like a fool in front of all of his friends. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of standing up for even a moment. This moron would spend the entirety of this fight on his belly, worse than those drop-shotting Call of Duty kids. I spammed bullets into his blue Kool-Aid generator and realized that my damage was actually quite substantial. Either that or I was rapidly entering a coma. Before I knew it, I had rattled my last round into this oversized mobile PlayStation 5 and had defeated it with nothing more than the tutorial pistol and my wits about me. and alcohol. Lots of that. 20 hours and I had completed the Outer Worlds 100% on Supernova with nothing but this piece of utter trash in my hand through it all. I approached the final door. Behind it lay the chairman of the board. Would I spare his life? Would I reason with him? Nah, I just shot him in the head.